9 times. That's how many times he tried to marry the same woman. 9 appointments. 9 carefully planned mornings. 9 hopeful walks toward a future that never arrived. And 9 times, it all collapsed. He stood under the pouring rain, staring at the glowing screen of my phone while water streamed down my face. My thumb hovered over the call button before he pressed it again. The ringing felt endless. When she finally picked up, he didn't even bother hiding the strain in my voice. Chloe, he said quietly, if we miss this one top, if it becomes 10. He won't be the same person anymore. If that happens, will you regret it? There was silence for a moment. Then as he heard papers shuffling on her side of the call, like she was busy with something far more important. Call, something urgent came up, she said quickly. I have to deal with it right now. Let's just reschedule the license appointment, okay? We'll do it next time. I promise. Next time. Those 2 words had followed me for years. I looked at her profile photo on my screen. That familiar smile, the face he had loved for so long. For a moment I simply nodded to myself. Because deep down, I already knew the truth. I would never become Chloe Evans' husband. When the 10th failure arrived, the system would take everything from me, every emotion, every attachment, every lingering piece of love. And once that happened, I would walk through life untouched by anyone. No love. No anger. No longing. Just emptiness. Ironically, Chloe would be the one left behind. I could almost picture it already. A woman in a wedding dress running through the rain, eyes red, pounding on the window of my car while screaming my name. You're not like this, Cole. You would never be this cold. Tell him I'm ready now. I love him. Please, please bring my Cole back. But she would never understand. Because by 10, the man she loved wouldn't exist anymore. Even now, the person you said to be already felt distant, like someone he barely remembered. Today was supposed to be our 10th attempt. We had planned it weeks ago. But once again, he stood alone outside the Cook County clerk's office. The building lights glowed faintly through the gray morning sky as he checked my phone for what felt like the 100th time. Still nothing. Are you coming? He finally texted. Then he called. And called again. Every attempt went straight to voicemail. Hours passed. The sky slowly shifted from pale morning gray to the bruised purple of evening. People came and went from the building while he remained in the same spot. Waiting. Hoping. Eventually, the clouds above burst open and rain began to pour down in seeds. Only 10 did my phone buzz. A message from Chloe. Cole, I'm really sorry. A critical meeting ran late. Let's cancel today. Go home and rest. We'll definitely do it next month. I promise. Next month. Always next month. I couldn't even remember how many times she had said that before. A quiet laugh slipped from my mouth as rain dripped onto the screen. Then something strange happened. A raindrop hit the glass, causing the phone to glitch for a second. A news page suddenly opened. And there she was. Chloe Evans. Standing shoulder to shoulder with Ethan Scott. The photo showed them at a Nova concert inside the United Center. They were wrapped together under a transparent poncho, neon stage lights reflecting across their faces. Chloe looked happier than he had seen her in years. Her eyes were shining. Ethan was staring at her like she was the only person in the world. The two of them shared a microphone while singing along to Nova's hits on Crossroads. The music even started playing from my phone's speaker. The lyrics floated through the rain. I hear the subway wind and the distant crowd. I'm standing in line holding a ticket for love. The melody was familiar. But my heart felt like it had been frozen solid. So that was her critical meeting. A concert. With Ethan. Memories began flashing through my mind like fragments of a broken film. The previous cancellation, she had gone with Ethan to a charity gala. Before that, Ethan had gotten sick, and she rushed him to urgent care. And the times before it also. The reasons blurred together, but every single one had the same name attached to it. Ethan. Whenever he appeared, everything else in her life moved aside. Including me. The song on my phone continued playing. Standing in line with a ticket for love. But no matter how long he waited, he was never the one she chose first. Strangely, my face stayed calm. No anger. No shouting. No desperate questions. He simply typed a reply. Okay. Understood. Then he added one final sentence. Chloe, your 10 chances are gone. There won't be another. The moment he sent it, a piercing alert echoed inside my mind. Warning, Ostens attempt has failed. Emotional extraction will begin in 24 hours. He lowered my phone and walked slowly down the street, passing the glowing arena where the concert was still raging inside. Rainwater ran through my hair and soaked into my clothes. But the storm outside felt warmer than the cold settling inside my chest. 24 hours. That was all the time I had left. After that, joy, sorrow, love, and hatred would all disappear from me. And I wondered, when that moment came, would I still even be myself after that? I didn't know. Maybe losing everything I felt would finally bring peace. Maybe it would free both of us from a relationship that had already been dying for years. As he walked past the arena, movement near one of the exits caught my attention. Chloe and Ethan. They stepped out into the rain together, their fingers intertwined as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Chloe wore a white dress that shimmered faintly under the streetlights, the fabric glowing against the dark, stormy night. Ethan stood beside her with an expression that looked almost victorious. My chest tightened. At that exact moment, Chloe looked up. Our eyes met. For a split second, panic flashed across her face. But just as quickly, it disappeared, replaced by a calm, distant expression. Ethan noticed me a moment later. He flinched like he had seen a ghost. Startled, he stepped backward and collided with a man passing behind him, splashing rainwater all over the man's coat. Hey! Watch it! The man snapped angrily. Ethan turned immediately to Chloe, his face twisting into a dramatic look of guilt. Chloe, I'm sorry, he said hurriedly. I didn't mean to bump into him. I used so cold and thought I might misunderstand things, so I tried to give you space. I didn't see the guy behind me. Chloe frowned. But the look she gave wasn't directed at Ethan. It was aimed at me. Cole, she said coolly, apologized to him. For a moment he thought he had heard wrong. Ethan was the one who had run into the man. Why would he apologize? The rasped voices had already begun drawing attention. People slowed down, gathering beneath umbrellas, whispering as they watched the scene unfold. He could feel their eyes on me. Some curious. Some sympathetic. The rain continued pouring down, soaking through my clothes as he stood there in silence. You startled Ethan, Chloe continued casually, as if she were explaining something obvious. It's only fair that you apologize. Her tone made it sound like the situation was trivial. Then she added, almost dismissively, besides, Ethan is like a younger brother to me. It's not a big deal for you to do this for him. He said nothing. Inside my chest, emotions twisted together. Like a storm threatening to break loose. My silence clearly irritated her. Her brows drew together. Apologize, she said again, her voice turning sharp. And tomorrow I go with you to get the marriage license. A hollow laugh slipped out of my mouth. So that was what our relationship had become. Marriage wasn't a promise anymore. It was a bargaining chip. Something she could wave in front of me whenever she wanted me to obey. Exhaustion washed over me like another wave of cold rain. For 3 years I had followed every one of her wishes, believing patience would eventually bring us closer. And this was the result. He looked at her face, still serious, still waiting for my answer. Chloe, he said quietly, do you really think he can't live without you? Her expression changed instantly. She looked genuinely shocked. In the entire time we had been together, he had never spoken to her like that. He had never challenged her decisions, never raised my voice about the way she treated our relationship. He had always believed that if he waited long enough, if he gave her enough understanding, she would eventually choose me. But he had been wrong. Every compromise he made didn't bring us closer. It simply pushed the line further. She lied about meetings. Spent her nights with Ethan. And now stood here demanding that he apologize for something he hadn't even done. Seeing the tension building, Ethan suddenly stepped forward. Cole, it's my fault, he said quickly. Don't take it out on Chloe. I apologize to the guy right now. He turned as if to do it. But Chloe grabbed his arm and stabbed him. Her eyes never left mine. Rainwater trickled slowly down her cheeks, but her gaze remained steady. Cole, she said in a low voice, do you still want to get married or not? A faint smile appeared at the corner of Ethan's mouth as he listened. His eyes flicked between the two of us, a hint of provocation hiding in them. Chloe didn't seem to notice. Or maybe she simply didn't care. He looked at her determined face, and an overwhelming fatigue settled deep inside me. Chloe, he said softly, you never really wanted to marry me. Each word felt sharp as it left my mouth. You don't need to keep pretending. Her face went completely still. Shock spread across her expression, followed by something that looked almost like fear. But he didn't wait for her response. He wiped the rain from my eyes, turned around, and began walking away. Behind me, Ethan called out in an exaggerated voice. Cole, what? But Chloe stopped him immediately. Let him go. Her cold words carried clearly through the sound of the rain. Her voice drifted through the rain behind me, sharp and dismissive. Es already trying to act tough before we were even married, Chloe said. Can you imagine how controlling he'd be after the wedding? Isen responded quickly, his tone pretending to be reasonable. I don't think Cole's that kind of person, but what if he actually leaves you? Chloe laughed softly. The kind of laugh filled with absolute certainty. E won't, she said. E loves me too much. E won't daré. By then the rain had turned into a relentless downpour. I kept walking. Cold water slapped against my face as I moved through the crowded street. People rushed past beneath umbrellas, their heads lowered against the storm. No one noticed the man slowly disappearing in the rain. You're wrong, Chloe. We're not getting married. There is no after. By the time I reached home, every piece of clothing I had on was soaked through. The cold clung to my skin like ice. I glanced down at my phone. 18 hours remaining. 18 hours until everything inside me disappeared. I collapsed onto the bed, my body trembling. I had burned through my forehead. However, my vision blurred as exhaustion pulled me under. Then suddenly, something landed on the bed in front of me with a soft tooth. I forced my eyes open. Chloe stood at the foot of the bed. She had tossed a small paper bag toward me. I recognized it immediately. It was from the artisan bakery I loved. The place she used to stand in line for hours whenever they released a new pastry. I used to tell her it wasn't worth the effort. She would always smile and say, if it's something you love, waiting is nothing. Memory surfaced without warning. Sitting in a teeny cafe. Warm pastries on the table between us. Steam rising from our coffee cups. Her cheeks flashed pink from the head, laughing at something he had said. Back then it felt like the world was simple. Back then, we were happy. Now the memory only felt bitter. My hand trembled as he opened the bag. There were no pastries inside. Used a few pieces of men's clothing. He slowly looked up at her. What is this? It's a dance, she said casually. I really likes that outfit. Was it for him? She spoke like she was assigning a small task. Han was it, she added. And don't overthink it. Isen and I are used friends. Like family. Then she waved a hand dismissively. Stop being so sensitive. Tomorrow morning we go to City Hall and finally get the license. He stared at her. A thousand thoughts crowded my mind, but when he finally spoke, only one sentence came out. We don't have to do that anymore, Chloe. My voice was quiet. Let's just break up. But at that exact moment her phone rang. She glanced at the screen, a flicker of concern appearing in her eyes. Clearly she hadn't heard a word he said. Or maybe she simply hadn't cared enough to listen. She stepped out onto the balcony to answer. Even from inside the room, I could hear the voice on the other end. Chloe, the pastries are amazing, Isen said cheerfully. Her tone softened immediately. I'm glad you like them. I still feel bad you waited in line so long used for me, I continued. By the way, is it really okay to make Cole wash my clothes? Chloe laughed lightly. You're your parents, precious boy, she teased. You've always been spoiled. Then she added casually, Cole's different. Es used to doing those kinds of chores. It's fine. The words felt like knives. She knew. She knew every little thing he did for her. And yet she spoke about it like it meant nothing. Like it meant nothing. She had forgotten something important. He had parents too. If they knew how much he had lowered myself for her, their hearts would break. But it didn't matter anymore. 15 hours. That was all that remained. I lay back down on the bed. My phone buzzed beside me. A message from someone I hadn't spoken to in years. An old friend. Cole. I'm back in the States. It's been forever. We should meet up. Bring Chloe, I've always wanted to meet her. I stared at the screen for a long time. Memories surfaced again. Late nights with friends. Drinks on the table. Talking about dreams, about the future. Back then I was certain Chloe and I would spend our lives together. Now, I shook my head slowly. A bitter smile touched my lips as my eyes burned. Chloe returned from the balcony. Cole, something came up at work, she said while grabbing her bag. I need to go back to the office. I didn't even lift my head. Okay. She frowned slightly. What for me, she said. I'll be back before midnight. I promise. Tomorrow morning we'll go get the license. Then she walked out. The sound of her heels echoed through the hallway before fading away completely. 10 de la noche. 2 hours until midnight. 15 hours until the system's punishment. I finally replied to my friend. Maybe another time. I'm not feeling great. After a pause, he added, Chloe and I broke up. His reply came instantly. What? When did that happen? I thought you were crazy about her. He stared at the message. Was he? Maybe 11. Alonti me hago. I closed my eyes and exhaled slowly. Just then another notification appeared. An Instagram story. It was posted by one of Chloe's junior employees. Still stuck at the office, whole building is empty except for me. Anyone else is suffering from overtime? I swiped to the next story. This one was from Isen. Having a boss who takes care of you when you're sick is the best. The photo attached made my chest tighten. Chloe stood in a sleek kitchen wearing an apron, cooking at the stove. So that was where she had gone. Interesting. After all these years together, I never knew Chloe could cook. Apparently she was willing to do it. Just not for me. I turned my phone to silent and tossed it aside. Sleep came eventually, heavy and restless. When I woke up again, sunlight was slipping through a crack in the curtains. My hand moved instinctively toward the other side of the bed. Empty. Of course. Chloe hadn't come back. I checked my phone. One message from her. Cole, Ethan's fever got worse last night, so I had to take care of him. I'm heading back now. We can still make it to City Hall. I checked the time. Less than 7 minutes remained. 7 minutes before everything inside me disappeared forever. I looked at the screen quietly. Then I typed a reply. It's okay, Chloe. You don't need to come back. My Sam hovered over the send button. This might be the last conversation I ever had while still capable of feeling anything. A strange heaviness rose in my chest. Then I pressed send. Almost immediately my phone rang. Chloe. I watched the screen light up and let it ring. Then another call came. And another. Over and over again. Finally, irritated, I blocked her number. Her messages began pouring in instead. Cole, what's wrong with you? Are you seriously acting petty again? I've already told you 1,000 times. When I didn't respond to her messages, Chloe kept typing. I've told you 1,000 times, she growled. Isen is like a younger brother to me. Can't you be a little more understanding? Silence. Minutes passed with no reply. Then another message appeared. Fine. Whatever this is, we'll talk when I get home. I could almost picture her expression while she typed it. Jaw tight, patience were insane. Before everything inside me disappeared, there was one more thing I needed to do. I opened my contacts and sent a message to my parents. Mom, Dad, I was wrong. I'm coming home. Their reply arrived almost immediately. A voice message. My father's familiar voice burst out the moment I pressed play. You little brat. So you finally remembered you have parents? After all this time chasing that girl. Then my mother's voice joined in, warm and teasing. We're waiting for you. Come home for lunch. Listening to them, something stung at the bridge of my nose. At last there were still people in this world who loved me. Then suddenly, a shrill alarm exploded inside my head. Warning. 24-hour countdown complete. Beginning extraction of host emotions and desires. A faint smile formed on my lips. So this was it. The end. Pain erupted instantly. It felt like someone had split open my skull with a hammer. I collapsed onto the bed, curling into myself as cold sweat soaked through my clothes. The agony was indescribable. Every nerve in my body screamed. It was as if invisible blades were carving through me from the inside, tearing something apart piece by piece. I tried to scream. No sound came out. Time lost all meaning. Seconds, minutes, maybe longer. And then, silence. The pain vanished. I slowly opened my eyes. The room looked the same. But something fundamental had changed. The colors were still there, yet they carried no warmth. Sounds reached my ears, but they felt distant, hollow. Sadness. Anger. Love. Guilt. Joy. All of it was gone. Even hunger and fatigue were nothing more than simple signals my body registered without concern. I sat up calmly. This apartment, once filled with memories, now felt like nothing more than a storage space full of random objects. Just as I turned toward the door, ready to leave for good, the lock clicked. The door swung open. Chloe rushed inside, breathless, her eyes burning with anger and confusion. Cole, what is wrong with you? She demanded. I looked at her. My expression remained completely calm. We're breaking up. She froze. Her eyes widened. What did you just say? At work, she continued quickly, defensive now. It's not like I wasn't going to marry you. Is this really what you're upset about? I watched her quietly. It don't matter, I said. A breakup isn't a major event. Her brows pulled together, and her hands clenched tightly at her sides. You're going to regret this. I didn't respond. I simply turned and walked toward the door. Cole, she shouted. Her voice trembled between anger and panic. If you walk out that door, we are done. There's no fixing this later. He paused briefly. Without looking back, he answered calmly. Chloe, we were already done. Then he walked out. Step by step. Vein me, she didn't move. Chloe stood frozen in the middle of the living room, watching my back disappear. Her eyes turned red as she bit her lower lip, trying to stop the tears building there. A broken sob escaped her throat. Betty felt nothing. Inside the apartment, Chloe's hands twisted nervously in the fabric of her dress. Her anger slowly dissolved into confusion. Then into something far more unsettling. Fear. She had imagined breaking up with me many times before. In every one of those fantasies, she was the one walking away, calm, confident, completely in control. But this felt different. Her chest tightened painfully. She forced herself to breathe slowly. Cole loves me too much, she told herself. Ella calm down. He always does. Ella come back and apologize like he always does. Trying to convince herself, she sat down on the sofa and stared at her phone. Minutes passed. No mensajes. She refreshed the screen again and again. Still nothing. 10 minutes. 20. Seti. Her brow tightened as sweat formed along her temples. The silence felt unbearable. The old Cole would never ignore her like this. Restless, she stood up and began pacing the room. Her footsteps echoed in the quiet apartment. Again and again her eyes drifted back to the phone in her hand. Finally, unable to take it anymore, she typed a message. Cole, where are you? She stared at the screen, her heart pounding loudly. Then another message. I know it was wrong. Ella kept my distance from Isen. Still nothing. Her fingers trembled. She typed again. Ella cut him out of my life completely. Is that what you want? She sent the message and held her breath. Seconds later her phone buzzed. Her heart leapt as she opened the chat. But instead of a reply, a red notice appeared beneath her last message. Not delivered. Her eyes widened in disbelief. How is that possible? She whispered. The phone slipped from her hand and hit the floor. She didn't pick it up. Instead she stumbled to her feet, grabbing the edge of the table for support as panic surged through her chest. I have to find him, she muttered. Her gaze landed on the car keys resting on the coffee table. She snatched them immediately. Just then her phone buzzed again. She glanced down. A message from Isen. Chloe, you promised we'd go to Iceland to see the northern lights. When are we leaving? Her face hardened. She typed a quick reply. Trip cancelled. Without waiting for his response, she shoved the phone into her pocket and rushed out the door. An hour later her car pulled up in front of a large estate in Lake Forest. My parents' home. Her hands trembled as she pressed the doorbell. Every second that passed felt unbearably long. Finally, the door opened. A middle-aged housekeeper looked at her with mild confusion. Yes? Chloe swallowed nervously. I'm here to see Cole. The woman frowned slightly and stepped back inside. Chloe waited on the doorstep, twisting her fingers together. Moments later, he appeared. My gaze moved over her calmly. Cold. Distant. Is there something you need? My tone was polite. Detached. As if she were a stranger who had simply knocked on the wrong house. Chloe opened her mouth. No words came out. He simply looked at her with an empty expression. No anger. No warmth. Nothing. Just then a gentle voice sounded from inside the house. Honey, who is it? My mother walked toward the door. Her eyes landed on Chloe, curiosity flickering across her face. It's nothing, he said calmly. Just an old acquaintance. Chloe felt something inside her chest twist painfully. My mother looked between the two of us, her expression growing thoughtful. What? She said slowly. Are you Chloe Evans? Chloe forced herself to nod, managing a strained smile. Chloe, what happened? He asked, breath still uneven. Why did you suddenly cancel the trip? She didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the debit card in her hand as if it were some kind of cruel joke. Isen followed her gaze. What's that? Still nothing. Finally, her lips moved. Cole broke up with me. The words sounded foreign even to her own ears. Isen blinked in surprise. What? That's impossible. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. Chloe, you two have been together forever. He worships you. There is no way they leave you. Chloe shook her head slowly. He already did. Her voice cracked. And they settled everything. She pushed the envelope across the table. Isen opened it and quickly skimmed the papers inside. Keys. Lists. Financial records. Every detail of their relationship neatly documented. A tense expression stiffened. This guy is serious. Chloe suddenly stood up. No, she whispered, shaking her head. This can't be happening. Isen reached for her arm. Hey, calm down. Maybe is just trying to make a point. Give him a day or two. Ella come crawling back. But Chloe didn't look convinced. For the first time in years, a terrifying thought crossed her mind. What if I didn't? Meanwhile, my life moved forward with quiet precision. He arrived at the company headquarters the following morning. The building rose above the street, its glass exterior reflecting the pale morning light. Employees walking through the lobby slowed when they saw me. Whispers spread quickly. That's Mr. Matthews, son. The one who never wanted anything to do with the company. Why is he here? He ignored them. Inside the executive office, my father stood near the window, watching the city skyline. He turned when he entered. You're serious about this? Yes. My answer was simple. He studied my face carefully, searching for hesitation. But there was none. Finally, he nodded. All right then. If you're taking over, you start from the bottom. That's fine. A faint smile appeared on his face. You've changed, son. Perhaps. But the truth was simpler. Without emotions, ambition became a matter of logic. The family business was valuable. It required a successor. He was the most efficient candidate. So he accepted the role. Across the city, Chloe sat in her apartment staring at her phone. Her messages still showed the same notification. Not delivered. She had tried everything. Calling. Messaging. Even emailing. Nothing worked. It was as if Cole had completely erased her from his life. She paced the room restlessly. This isn't right, her voice trembled. He always forgives me. He always comes back. Ethan sat on the couch watching her. Chloe, relax. Guys like him don't just disappear. But something in his tone had changed. Even he wasn't completely sure anymore. Chloe suddenly stopped passing. I'm going to see him. Ethan frowned. You already did. No. Her voice was firm. I'm going to see him again. Days later, she stood outside the towering Matthews Group headquarters. The massive glass building made her feel strangely small. Inside the lobby, the receptionist looked up politely. Can I help you? I'm here to see Cole Matthews. The receptionist hesitated. Do you have an appointment? Chloe shook her head. I just need to speak with him for a minute. The receptionist typed something into her computer. A moment later her expression shifted. I'm sorry, Miss Evans. Mr. Matthews has instructed that you are not to be granted access to the building. Chloe felt the words hit her like a physical blow. What? I'm just following instructions. Her chest tightened. Said that? Yes. Chloe stood there silently for several seconds. Then she turned and walked outside. The cold wind brushed against her face as she stepped onto the sidewalk. For the first time since the breakup, the reality finally began to sink in. Cole wasn't angry. He wasn't trying to punish her. He wasn't waiting for an apology. He had simply moved on. And worse than that, he no longer felt anything for her at all. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The ballroom had gone silent. Conversations had stopped, glasses were frozen halfway to lips, and dozens of curious eyes were fixed on us. Chloe stood there, breathing hard, her hands trembling slightly. Cole, she whispered. Her voice was soft, almost fragile. He looked at her the same way one might look at a stranger asking for directions. Calm. Detached. Mr. Matthews, he corrected quietly. The words struck her harder than a slap. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. Around us, security dragged Ethan toward the exit while he continued shouting incoherently. His voice faded down the hallway until it disappeared completely. But Chloe didn't even glance in that direction. Her entire attention was fixed on me. You called Ave Benhead, she said finally. Her eyes searched my face desperately, as if hoping to find even the smallest trace of the man she once knew. But there was nothing there. No anger. No resentment. No warmth. Just a perfectly neutral calm. It was not, he replied simply. She swallowed hard. Cole, I believe you should return home, Miss Evans, he interrupted politely. My tone was courteous. Professional. Exactly the kind of tone one would use with a business acquaintance. Her eyes immediately filled with tears. Why are you talking to me like this? She asked in a broken voice. You didn't use it to, her words trailed off. Because she suddenly realized something. The man standing in front of her really wasn't the same person anymore. Before she could speak again, one of the executives beside me cleared his throat. Mr. Matthews, the investors are waiting for you in the lounge. He nodded slightly. Understood. Then he turned back to Chloe. If there is nothing else, you have work to attend to. Her breathing became uneven. That's it, she whispered. After everything, that's all you have to say to me. Yes. The answer was immediate. Simple. Final. Chloe stared at me as if the ground had used. Vanished beneath her feet. If I listen, she blurted suddenly. The words rushed out in panic. I cut him off completely. I told him never to come near me again. Her eyes searched mine desperately. I did it for you. There was a long pause. I studied her face for a moment. Then he spoke. That decision has nothing to do with me. Her shoulders trembled. But I did it because you were upset. I am not upset. The reply came with absolute certainty. Because it was true. Without emotions, concepts like jealousy or hate no longer existed. Chloe shook her head weakly. No, that's not possible. Tears rolled down her cheeks. You loved me. You loved me more than anything. I did. The past tense in the air like a quiet verdict. Her entire body stiffened. So what changed? She asked desperately. I considered the question for a brief moment. Time. It was the most accurate answer available. Her voice broke. Cole, please. For the first time that night, she stepped closer to me. Let's start over. The words trembled with open fear. We can forget everything that happened. Her fingers clutched the edge of my sleeve. We can go get the license tomorrow. Today. Right now if you want. My gaze dropped briefly to her hand gripping my arm. Then he gently removed it. The gesture was calm. Careful. As if avoiding unnecessary contact. Miss Evans, he said quietly, our relationship concluded several days ago. Her face turned pale. You don't mean that. I do. Another long silence settled between us. The noise of the gala slowly returned around us, people beginning to whisper and move again now that the drama had passed. But Chloe looked like she couldn't hear any of it. Her eyes were fixed on me. You promised you'd never leave me, she said hoarsely. I did. Then why are you doing it now? I made her gasp. Because promises lose meaning when the relationship they belong to no longer exists. The words landed with quiet finality. Her knees nearly buckled. For several seconds she just stood there, shaking. Then suddenly she grabbed my hand tightly. Her grip was desperate. Cole, listen to me, she pleaded. I know I was wrong. I know I hate you. But people make mistakes. We can fix this. I'll do anything. Her voice cracked. Just don't abandon me. I looked down at our joined hands. Once upon a time, holding her hand had filled me with warmth. Now it was simply physical contact. Nothing more. I slowly pulled my hand free. You will recover, he said calmly. Her eyes widened in disbelief. How can you be so cruel? I am not being cruel. He paused briefly. I am being honest. That was the last thing she expected to hear. Her shoulders collapsed as if all the strength had drained from her body. For a long moment, she simply stood there crying quietly. Then she whispered something so soft it was almost lost in the noise of the room. I wish I had realized sooner. He didn't respond. An assistant approached and spoke quietly beside me. Mr. Matthews, the board members are ready. I nodded once. Then he looked at Chloe one final time. Take care of yourself, Miss Evans. No anger. No bitterness. Just a polite farewell. Then he turned and walked away. This time, she didn't follow. Behind me, in the middle of the glittering ballroom, Chloe Evans finally understood something she had refused to believe before. The man who once loved her more than anything in the world, was truly gone. My eyes felt like a sheet of ice, still, distant, untouched by any emotion. There wasn't even anger left inside me. Slowly, he spoke in a quiet, lifeless tone. Let it go, Chloe. I don't love you anymore. After that night, something in Chloe seemed to shatter. The confident woman who once carried herself with pride suddenly disappeared. In her place was someone desperate, someone determined to make up for every mistake she had made. Every morning when he arrived at the company, she would already be there. No matter if the sky was clear or pouring rain, she stood on the sidewalk in the same with trench coat, holding a thermos carefully in both hands. When she showed me, she would step forward cautiously, her voice gentle and hopeful. Cole, he brought you breakfast. He walked past her every single time. No greeting. No glance. Not even a pause. Eventually the security guard lost patience. Miss, you can't stay here, he would say firmly. You're disturbing the company. Chloe would bite her lip, panic flickering across her face. Please just let me wait a little longer, she would beg softly. The guard would wave her away impatiently. No. Leave now, or we'll call the police. From the large window of my office upstairs, I could see everything clearly. He watched as she was forced to move away, slowly lowering herself onto the curb while wiping the tears from her cheeks. But inside me, nothing stirred. Around noon, when he stepped out of the elevator, the receptionist would give me an uneasy look. Mr. Matthews. Ms. Evans is here again. She says she brought lunch for you. Throw it away, he replied without hesitation. The receptionist would pause for a moment, clearly uncomfortable, but she always followed my instructions. Chloe stood there silently as the lunch she had prepared with such care was dumped straight into the trash. That was usually the moment when she finally broke. She would sink to the floor, tears streaming uncontrollably down her face. Cole, what do I have to do? She cried. What do I have to do for you to forgive me, for you to even look at me again? He simply walked past her. Please leave, he said calmly. Jure máquina sene. The following day, a sick handwritten letter appeared on my desk. The elegant handwriting was unmistakably hers. Page after page filled with apologies, regrets, and memories. Thousands of words. He read the entire letter. Then he nodded slightly. Thank you. And fed it straight into the shredder. The machine hummed as the pages were torn into thin strips. Tears slipped from Chloe's eyes, landing softly on the floor. She collapsed into the corner of my office, curling up like a lost child who no longer knew where to go. He watched quietly, my face unreadable, my heart completely still. Outside, dark clouds gathered. Lightning flashed across the sky, followed by a loud crash of thunder. Soon the rain began pouring down in 6 sheets. When Chloe finally left the building, the storm instantly soaked her sin figure. Betty simply turned back to my desk and continued working, leaving her alone with the storm. Hours later, it was finally time to leave. As he pushed open the doors of the office building, a figure standing in the rain caught my attention. Chloe. She was completely drenched, her hair clinging to her face, her makeup ruined by the rain. And she was wearing a pure white wedding dress. Her body trembled violently as the cold storm beat down around her. The moment she saw me, she rushed forward. Her voice was hoarse and broken. Husband, please, marry me. Before he could move, she dropped to her knees on the wet pavement, clutching tightly at my pant leg. I'll do anything, she sobbed. Anything at all, just forgive me. Her tears mixed with the rain streaming down her face. He looked down at her quietly, my expression unchanged. Then he gently removed her hands from my leg. Without saying a single word, he walked toward my car. She stumbled after me through the heavy rain, pounding desperately against the car window. You're not Cole, she screamed, her voice cracking. I would never treat me this coldly. Tell him I love him. Tell him I'm ready to marry him. Please just give me my Cole back. Her voice was loud enough to hear even through the rain, but it couldn't reach me through the glass. He started the engine. Slowly, the car pulled away from the curb. In the rearview mirror, her figure grew smaller and smaller in the storm. And for the first time in a long while, something flickered inside my chest. An emotion. Not love. Not sadness. Just irritation, and a deep sense of disgust. Yes. I was certain of it. Perhaps, with enough time, my emotions might truly come back again. The car continued forward, cutting through the storm as the city lights blurred behind me.